Hey. Okay, so a lot of people seem to think that they can just cover up their trauma, that they don't have to deal with their trauma, that they can sweep it under the rug, that they don't ever have to visit it, and that is a lie, okay? So today we're going to talk about 10 things that people make, 10 mistakes that people make when it comes to unhealed trauma. Let's get it. Mistake number one that people make when it comes to unhealed trauma is thinking that they don't have to touch it. That's the number one mistake. Thinking that you can sweep it under the rug. Thinking that you don't have to go and revisit the things that happened to you. That is a big mistake, okay? Because that trauma is going to grow with you. As you're growing, that trauma is growing, okay? Just because don't nobody know about it, just because ain't nobody talked about it or anything like that, don't mean that it's not growing with you. And it shows up in your attitudes. It shows up in how you move throughout the day. It shows up in your life, and it's the energy that you give it, the experiences that you give it. So you think that that unhealed trauma is not a problem when in fact it's a huge problem. All right. Mistake number two is isolation. A lot of times people isolate themselves, hindering their healing process. They isolate themselves because, sometimes they may be ashamed, sometimes they may be embarrassed by the things that they're going through, so they may isolate themselves. Now, let me tell you when isolation is necessary. Isolation is necessary when you are isolating yourself from people who gossip, from people who talk too much, because people will spread your business and they'll spread the wrong business, and they'll make your trauma worse. They can use your trauma against you. So some people, yes, you need to be isolating yourself from, but some people you don't need to isolate yourself from. So you got to ask yourself, is these people beneficial to me and what I got going on? So do these people understand me? You want to talk to safe people, not people who are not safe, gossipers, people who gonna magnify, people who really secretly hate you and they couldn't wait till you tell a business and now they going out there to tell everybody else. These are not safe people. So know and understand who you need to isolate yourself from, because there are some people who you need to isolate yourself from, and there are some people who you need to get real close to so you can understand how this trauma thing works. Okay, so the next one is a huge common problem, okay? Most people do this. Most people self-medicate. You see drugs, alcohol, because they think that they could just wipe it away. I'm gonna get high right now, and so I ain't gotta worry about my problems. I ain't gotta think about my problems. Okay, yeah, that's for that moment, but in that moment, what you're doing is causing more and more and more problems, because that thing don't just go away if you don't touch it. You have to touch that thing. You have to figure out what's going on with that thing, right? You're going to have to do some analyzing on that thing. You can't just think that you're going to sit up here and do drugs and drink all day and have a good time and party your problems away. It don't work like that. Instead, you're going to have bigger habits, right? That's when we see these people all cracked out, doped out, tricked out, right? Because back then they thought, well, I'm just gonna smoke a little just to get away from my problems. Them problems never go away. They still there. They growing with you as you grow, right? Number four, minimizing the problem, okay? It ain't that big a deal. It ain't that big a deal. It's a great big deal. Don't downplay your problems if your problems is not that small, okay? If your problems is not that small, don't downplay your problems just to satisfy the people around you. Because a lot of times people be like, girl, it wasn't that bad. I've been through this. I've been through that. Okay, you've been through that. That's your feelings, right? These are my feelings, right? People feel they could go through the same thing, be in the same household, same things has happened to them, but they process it different, right? So do not downplay or do not let anybody invalidate your traumas, okay? You got to touch them things. You got to touch them. And I know you don't want to touch them because they hurt. You know, nobody wants to dig back and be like, oh, this happened to me, because it's a very painful thing to think about, right? But I promise you, once you get that out and once you analyze that and once you go through that, the healing process will be so much more easier for you. I did create a book so you can understand your patterns, so you can identify your patterns and you can know where to start if you are trying to go on a pain to purpose journey. Here it is. The link will be in the bio, and I also will put the ebook link in the bio. If for whatever reason you can't click the link, text me at 773-839-0468. It's my free community where I do offer mindset, moods, and motion messages, text messages. So text me there. Just a thought. The next one is blaming. Blaming either yourself or blaming other people, okay? You are not at fault for the trauma. The trauma that happened to you, the pain that happened to you, you are not at fault for that, right? But you are responsible for how you heal, okay? You are responsible for looking at that thing like, okay, you know, I know I'm not at fault for this person doing this to me, for this person being a crummy ass person, but it's my problem and how I handle it from here on out and what I do with it, right? And we also can't keep blaming other people, because a lot of times we put ourselves in positions to let people hurt us because of unhealed trauma. We think these things is normal. We look at these things, oh, okay, he must love me because he did this, right? You've been looking at this stuff all your life. Your mama been going through it. Your auntie been going through it. So you think it's normal. No, it's not normal. It's not normal for you to continue to wake up and be mad and you to be miserable out of your life for what somebody else is doing to you. No. So at some point you have to start taking control of your life and realizing I can't blame nobody, but I am responsible for my healing. Okay, the sixth one is dwelling. You study dwelling on the trauma. No, no, no. That is a huge mistake, okay? And you will find a lot of people, whoa, this happened to me. This happened to me. No, don't dwell on the trauma. Dwelling and talking about it and working through it is two different things, okay? Dwelling, all you want to do is sit there and talk about it with no solutions. You don't want to work on it. You just really just want to talk about it so people could feel sorry for you, so they could just listen to you. Oh, this woe me thing, right? Fixing it and actually doing some things about it. You looking for some solutions and you actually doing these solutions. You seeking out, what can I do to make myself better? What can I do to heal myself from this thing that from this pain I don't want to feel anymore? So it's two different things. You don't want to be dwelling on it. You don't need anybody's attention on it. You don't need nobody to feel sorry for you, as much as you need to start actually processing the pain and actually fixing it so that you can pick up with your life and move on and get past the hurtful things that keep coming up in your life due to past trauma. Next, we have unhealthy coping mechanisms, right? You know, it's kind of like with the drugs, the alcohol, and all that stuff. But in this sense, it's also your unhealthy coping mechanisms, your anger, you walking through life and you slapping everybody in a way, okay? You taking your negative patterns and you messing everybody up, right? You don't see nothing wrong with your issues. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Ain't nothing wrong with me. No, you cannot walk through life like that. They got a problem. You sitting here blaming everybody else for your unhealthy coping mechanisms. That's a mistake. That's a big mistake in trauma. Okay, number 8 is a huge one in making mistakes when it comes to unhealed trauma. A lot of people don't know what triggers them. So many people do not know what triggers them, and you put yourself in harm's way when you do not know what your triggers are, okay? that means you're going to be triggered often, okay? You're going to go places. You're not going to know what's triggering you, who triggering you, why it's triggering you. You need to know what triggers you so it can protect you. It's going to help. It's going to protect your energy. It's going to protect your time. It's going to protect you. I know you've seen a lot of stories where, what's that show? Snapped. Y'all know that show Snap, where people going, they snapping, right? That is an accurate title for that show. They snapping. Why is they snapping? They snapping because they don't know what triggers them, right? Somebody do something and all of a sudden, well, some people just greedy, they just killing people because they want the money or status or whatever. But some people actually snap when some things happen and they in certain situations and they don't know how to handle their emotions, right? They just go off in anger and they will fuck you up. So you definitely need to know your triggers, because this will save you from a situation happening that you can't turn back from. And I know we all know of situations that has happened that we seen and we looking like, damn, and you can't turn back, you can't change back. So this is why it is a good, you really need to know what triggers you so you don't put yourself in situations or places that will end up hurting you in the long run. Number 9, have some boundaries. Have some boundaries. Boundaries is going to teach people how to treat your space, okay? It's going to teach people how to treat you. It's going to let you understand what people's true intentions is for you, okay? When you have some boundaries, it's going to protect your time and your energy, okay? You have boundaries in place so people understand this is how you treat me, okay? This is what I will and I won't take, okay? So we need to have some boundaries in place so that we are teaching people how to treat us. Because a lot of people, when you don't have boundaries in place, that's going to allow people to just walk all over you, do whatever it is they want to do to you, leave you burnt out. You're going to be treating them like priorities and they're going to be treating you like options, and you're going to be mad, okay? So this is a problem when it comes to unhealed trauma. You have to have some boundaries for yourself so you can protect your time and your energy. All right. This is the last one, okay? And this is a big one, all right? And this is basically you passing that pain down to your kids, okay? Or the people that's around you. A lot of times, mother, she been in some traumatic situations. What do you see? How does that relationship look with her kids? It is a very dysfunctional relationship. You see a father, he has some traumatic experiences that he has never dealt with. What happens in that relationship with his kids is dysfunctional, right? You'll see that a lot of times with unhealed trauma, it shows up in dysfunctional ways and you pass that trauma off to your kids, right? So it's just like, when somebody died and they inherit something, but in this case, ain't nobody even has to die, and the kid has inherit the pain that the mother is dragging around, that the father is dragging around. Now they trauma has become the kid trauma, and the kid don't even know where the hell this coming from, right? But the mother or the father has passed it down, or not only passed it down to the kids, but passed it down to anybody who is around them. You see relationships that go fucked up because this person has unhealed trauma. So these are some of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to unhealed trauma. Just a thought.